I'm Julie Baumgartner, and this is the Marriage on the Daily podcast, the podcast designed to give you tools and encouragement to help you do married well on the daily. Because after all, it isn't the grand gestures that make or break your marriage. It's actually what you do or don't do on the daily that either builds a strong foundation or chips away at your core. You can do this, and I'm here to help. Welcome to the Marriage on the Daily podcast. I'm your host, Julie Baumgartner. Today, I get to have a conversation with a really good friend of mine, Scott Kedersha. Scott is married to Kristen. They're getting ready to celebrate 25 years of marriage.
There we are.
Congratulations. You
Thank
guys
you.
have 4 boys. And you are an author and speaker, and currently you're the National Director of Merge and Foundation Groups at Watermark Church in Dallas, Texas. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on today.
It's good to be with you, my friend. Thanks for having me. What a joy.
Absolutely. I want to have a conversation about unspoken expectations. And I know you've written several books, one of which is called Ready or Not, play on the word not.
Yes.
And you have spoken with loads of couples as they are preparing for marriage. And the vast majority of our audience is young marrieds and still trying to kind of figure out the rhythm and the dance. And one thing that I think we would both agree on that tends to trip people up is unspoken expectations. So give us all the wisdom you got.
Well, I love this topic, and I love newlyweds. I think, Julie, young marrieds, newlyweds tend to be the forgotten population in the church. One of them.
Yes.
We think of the couples who are, before they get married, we care for them when they're in crisis, but nobody thinks of these sweet young marrieds, newlyweds, and we got to take good care of them. And so I love that we get to talk about this.
Yes.
And then expectations are such a big deal, right? We have expectations about everything. Everything in life. And so you couldn't have picked a better topic for us. And in fact, I've heard it said before, like our biggest disappointments in life come from our expectations and really from unmet expectations.
Yeah.
And so, so we got plenty to talk about in this episode about unspoken expectations.
Yeah. So when you talk with couples, and I mean, we hear them talk about, I've always dreamed of this when I get married. I am curious, what do you hear most often in terms of the things that they maybe are dreaming about, but then don't actually talk about in terms of their marriage? They just kind of assume it's going to play out.
Yeah, can we talk about this first really quick? I want to come back to that. Like, where do our expectations come from?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so we know they're going to come from our family.
Yep.
They're going to come from, and so you come from a great family, you have really high expectations. You come from a broken family, you have really low expectations. They come from media, and Lord have mercy, so whether it's from TV shows, social media,
right.
We come in with like very few pictures of a good, healthy marriage.
Yeah.
It comes from our friends. And so again, it depends on who you're hanging out with. If you hang out with good friends with good marriages, then you come in with good expectations. If you hang out with people who are in broken marriages, struggling marriages, you come in with low expectations. Largely comes in from your personalities. And so, if I am, if I'm a really driven type A person, then I expect, you're going to have your ducks in a row. And if you're a normal person like me, then you're also going to have your ducks in a row. And so it comes from our own. Or if I'm more spontaneous and fun, then I'm going to expect that you're going to be a little more spontaneous and fun. Yeah. And so lots of sources of expectations. I mean, any others? I don't know there's probably more, but.
Well, I think about even in my own marriage, I came from a home that was highly structured. I had lots of rules and lots of expectations. And Jay's home just wasn't as structured. And so we both came into marriage with kind of unspoken expectations about how things would be, and very quickly you discover, this is interesting.
Yeah, this guy's crazy. Like, what is? How could he be wrong about so many different things, right? Or that's what I thought about Kristen. Yes, how could she be wrong about so many different things?
Yeah.
And so we either have, in our minds, I think I heard this from Scott Stanley, Dr. Scott Stanley, that our expectations, we're either unaware of them, that they're so ingrained in our heads that we're not even, we can't even articulate them.
Right.
Or they're unspoken, and so we're aware of them, but we don't have to speak them out. Mm-hmm. Because if you were normal like I was, then I would have no need to express them.
Yeah.
Or they're just crazy unrealistic.
Right.
And so those are three problems with expectations: unaware, unspoken, or unrealistic. And so the unrealistic might be, we're going to be intimate with each other 7 days a week, or 10 times a week, or we're gonna go on extravagant vacations 5 times a year. Yet we live on two teacher salaries, right? And so we just have all these problems with expectations, but yet I would say largely the biggest problem is that we don't communicate, right? They're unspoken, and so it leads to just a boatload of issues and challenges in couples because we just don't know how to communicate our expectations.
Can I just tell you that I was leading a premarital retreat one time, and we actually asked the couples to take out a sheet of paper and write down on the sheet of paper how many times a week they thought that they would have sex.
Yes.
And the woman had, I think, 3, and the fella had significantly 10. Significantly more. Anyway,
shocking,
it was very eye-opening, right?
Yes,
but
yes.
You know what I think is interesting about unspoken expectations is that if you've grown up in something, whether it's how you handle money or how the holidays go,
right.
If you have not been exposed to anything else, that is your normal. Mm-hmm. And so you think, well, obviously that's how everybody celebrates, or that's what you do with money. Yes. And we forget to think about this person that we're getting ready to marry may never have seen conflict openly, or nobody ever talked to them about finances. And so that's where it gets a little dicey.
Yeah, and I think that's so good, Julie. And I think what happens there is that, there's a couple of different problems with that. I think one is that I come into marriage with this expectation, and Kristen comes in with a different one, and we're not aligned in how we think about it. So let's just say it's about money. Hypothetically, we've never had any trouble.
Totally
there,
hypothetically.
Right? Hypothetically. And if she doesn't see things the same way that I do, again, hypothetically, then it's really simple to go, okay, maybe I made the wrong decision about marriage. And maybe Kristen's not the right person for me. Because if we were aligned in our expectations, or we thought the same way, then we're the right person. But if we're not aligned, then maybe we made a mistake. Mm-hmm. Maybe she's not my quote-unquote soulmate, as we so often hear.
Yeah.
Maybe things are supposed to be easier, and maybe there's somebody better out there for me. Mm-hmm. Which, sadly, I think those are some of the thoughts that go through people's heads. Or if you really loved me, then you would understand the way that I was wired. Yeah. Right? Or we would be more aligned. And so, we talk about these myths that are out there. This is one of them, that if we really truly were aligned in our expectations, then we wouldn't have disagreements, and I think maybe I made a mistake. And so what happens there is that, either we coexist as roommates, we're miserable together, we continually question if we made the right decision, or we take it one step further, we end up getting divorced, and then we repeat the same thing over with the next person.
Hello. Yeah.
And then we repeat it again with the next person. Because we have these expectations, we don't talk through them, and then we're just disappointed over and over again because we're not aligned, and we think somehow we made a mistake or God made a mistake. And that's the next thing, is that then we take it from, it's not just a problem between two individuals, then it becomes like God is the one who did this to me. And so it doesn't just affect our human relationships, now it's affecting our relationship with God, and maybe God doesn't love me either. Because if he did, then he wouldn't allow this to happen. And so we finger point, and we blame first our spouse, and then we blame God for where we are in our relationship. And from something as simple as misaligned expectations on money.
I think is very interesting about that. There's actual research that year 2 is the year where a lot of couples throw in the towel and call it quits. And to your point, I think a lot of it has to do with dating seemed to come so naturally.
Right.
We were finishing each other's sentences. We seemed to be so aligned. And then we got married and something changed. Why did it change when we seemed to be so aligned over here? And I think you're right that we start making all these assumptions in our mind about, well, if my spouse was the right person, we wouldn't be having tension around any of these issues.
That's right.
So what would you say are some practical steps that couples could actually take if they find themselves in this place, which I mean, let's normalize this in that most all couples go through this first 1, 2, 3 years of trying to figure out the dance and honestly figuring each other out. And it's not so much that there's big surprises. I actually had a woman say to me one time, we talked about all these things. We wanted to make sure that we didn't walk in here with any unspoken expectations. So we talked about all these things. And all those things that we talked about, not an issue. But there were these things that kind of caught us off guard that came in from the side that have been very challenging for us to figure out in these first couple of years. So it is normal. And what do you do with that practically to help build up your marriage versus tear away at the foundation?
So good. Great question. I want to share one scripture and then I'm going to answer that. So it's Proverbs 14:12. It says, that's the wrong verse. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, its way is death. That's a good verse too. I can't remember the address, but the verse is, a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Oh man, this is embarrassing. I've quoted this verse a million times and I can't remember what it is. A desire fulfilled is a tree of life. So essentially, when we have an expectation that's met, it leads to life. But an unmet expectation is like sickness. It's like death. And so we all get it, and it's biblical, it's scriptural. Even though I can't remember where it is in the Bible, it is in the Bible.
All good.
And so it absolutely makes sense for all of us, and it's in all play. This is every single one of us. Every married couple in the history of the world has walked through these unmet expectations, and so absolutely normal, so we shouldn't be surprised by it. And I love what you said about this couple that said we talked about all these things and yet all these other things crept in. You can't talk through everything because there's so much that's going to come our way in marriage. And so what do you do practically? And so I'd say like a few thoughts. One, on the pre-married side, so if there are any couples who are listening right now who are not married yet, we have our couples in our pre-married class at our church. We have them talk through expectation questions every week in our class. And so, the first week we talk through like a definition of marriage. What is oneness? The second week is communication and conflict. The third week is about appreciating differences and roles in marriage. The fourth week is spiritual intimacy, and on and on. And every week we have them answer questions in our workbook that are about expectations. And so, expectations about definition of marriage. What happens in the future when you let each other down? How are you going to handle that? With money, how are we going to handle, who's going to do the finances? Is she going to do it? Is he going to do it? How many times a week do we expect that we're going to be intimate with one another? How many kids do we want to have in the future? So one, just being aware and talking through expectations. That's on the pre-married side, and that continues on the newly married side, right?
Yes.
Conversation. My wife and I, today there's a holiday coming up, and we just had a conversation today about what are our expectations about this upcoming holiday. And so, you said it earlier, we got 25 years coming up. We're still having these conversations because I do not want to disappoint my wife. She doesn't want to disappoint me. Yeah. And so it's an ongoing dialogue, right? And so the conversation has to continue about expectations.
And can we just say and agree on that I don't care if it's Valentine's Day, Christmas, your birthday, whatever that celebration is. One, if you say you don't need to get me anything, that really means you don't need to get me anything. And so if you are actually saying that, but you don't mean that, don't say that.
Don't say it. That's
I mean,
right.
like that has gotten
That's
so many
exactly
couples
right.
in trouble, right? And I mean, I hear couples who disagree on Valentine's Day, like, oh my gosh, that's just such a commercialized holiday. But you didn't get me anything, and that means that says something to me.
That's playing games. Yeah.
It is. And so that's a great conversation to have around expectations. What are we going to do for each other, and just being willing to speak truth. Don't say, I don't care what you get me, or I don't want you to get me anything, if that's not what you really mean, because that's a setup.
Yeah. That's really good, Julie. Agreed. Yeah, my friend says, I know flowers are more expensive on Valentine's Day. I don't care. I still want you to get me flowers. I appreciate that, how straightforward she is with her husband.
Amen. Yeah.
She's not playing games. So we got to talk about it. We've got to, on the pre-married side, the newly married side, I think there's something so beautiful about community and realizing, here's 20 years of working with newlyweds. And so often they think we're the only ones who are walking through this. Nobody understands what we're going through. Right. You put them in a room together with other newlyweds, and yes, there's some unique things for every couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so often it's just like you sit in a room and you share, and it's like, oh, me too. Like, we're going through that as well. I thought we were the only ones. And there's something that's so freeing about realizing, to what we talked about before, we're not the only ones who are disappointed. We're not the only ones who are, misaligned. We're not the only ones who sometimes get in arguments over money and holiday and sex and parenting and all the things. And so community is so essential. And then, and then having somebody who's further down the road than you is so helpful too, right? Yeah. Yeah. So whether that's a mentor couple or, a counselor, somebody to sit in a room with you and tell you, you're not crazy. Us too, when we were there, here's what we did. Have you tried this? Can I pray for you?
Yes.
Yes, you're going to make it. Hey, this is, you're not the first, you're not somebody who's, of course, going to empathize and care, but just a coach, an encourager. Sometimes that mentor also needs to put their finger in your chest and go, hey, you need to step up and lead right now. You're not loving your wife, you're not loving your husband, right? Yeah. And so somebody who's not afraid to speak some hard truth is essential. Yeah.
Okay, let's drill down a little bit on that one in particular, because I have had women say to me, well, my husband isn't leading. He's not being the leader in our household. And this actually goes both ways. I've had women say, well, I highlighted this whole thing, I put it in the bathroom for him to read, or the other way around. The husband is like, well, I don't think she's growing like she should be growing. And man, I hear those things and like the hair goes up on the back of my neck, because I know this is not going to go well, because you're telling them, hey, you need to be at a different place and you need to be growing, which doesn't tend to be received very well when you present it like that.
Yes.
So can you speak to expectations around spiritual intimacy? And I love the idea of a mentor couple. Man, I'm such a believer in that. We've had mentor couples ourselves, and just having someone say to you, oh my goodness, yes, we totally experienced that. I had a woman, I was complaining about Jay about something to this woman, and she was like, honey, you ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, like, if this is your biggest issue, just let's keep putting one foot in front of the other. This is normal, and this too shall pass, and let's keep going. And honestly, at that moment in time, those were very good words that I needed to hear. So, but let's talk about spiritual intimacy.
Yeah, I love it. So two things on that. What that come to mind immediately. One is Ephesians 5, 22 through 33, right, where it talks about the role of the husband and the role of the wife. And so often, I think what the tendency is, and you described it, Julie, is like, wife is going, hey, husband, here's what your role is. It says it here. And then the husband is saying, hey, wife, here's what your role is. It's here. And I heard somebody say this, when we were newlyweds, and I'm so thankful. It says specifically, it says, wives, and it's talking to the wife. And so, wife, you do your role, right? You have your part, and then husband, you have yours. And I'm going to worry about my part, right? It's like Matthew 7, 3 through 5, where it says, I'm not going to focus on the speck in somebody else's eye. I'm going to focus on the log in my own eye. Yeah. And I'm going to worry about myself. And so when it comes to roles, I think a couple would be so much better set up for success if he would just do what his role is, and if she would do what her role is. And like, to the guys listening, if you want your wife to encourage you to submit to your leadership, here's the best way that happens: is you love her like Christ loved the church. You sacrificially, selflessly serve her. You do that, and she's going to be thrilled to follow your leadership, right?
Amen.
And women, like be willing to do that. It's not fun to lead. It's a hard job. And God has given you a Christ-like role as well. It's not it doesn't make you less than, it doesn't make you inferior in any way. To submit, to encourage is, we see the Spirit submit, we see the Son submit. It's not less than in any way. And so you've got to rightly understand what those roles are, and they're both Christ-like roles. Yeah.
Have you ever looked up the actual Greek word for submit?
I know it's repeated in like 1 Corinthians 15, and it's a beautiful word. It's not,
it is not like underneath.
No,
it is not underneath, and it's really powerful. But I always know when I teach premarital, I talk about what does it look like for husbands to treat their wives like as Christ treats the church, right? And what does it look like for women to respect their husbands? And I always know that we're probably going to have a little bit of angst when I have someone raise their hand and they say to me, you have not spoken directly about wives submit to your husbands. And to your point, I heard Christine Kane just the other day talking about this, and she said, you show me a marriage where a husband is treating his wife like Christ treats the church, loves his wife like Christ loves the church. You're not having a conversation about submission because there is this loving dynamic that is going on, and they are doing it together. There's mutual submission. There's respect. They are both taking ownership in the relationship.
That's right.
And growing it, right? Growing spiritually,
That's right.
growing in all the different ways. And man, we could spend a long time talking about that. I feel really strongly about that, because I think that it's one thing that it can trip you up in your marriage. And both people, just like you said, both people need to take responsibility for their part in helping the marriage grow spiritually and in every way.
That's so right. And I love that you brought her up. She, Christine, and her husband, Nick, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
When I was on staff at another church in Waco a little over a year ago, the two of them came to our staff meeting. And I loved watching the two of them. She adores her husband, and he adores her.
Clearly, yes.
And she is a strong woman, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she is a bold, gifted, in every way. And traditionally, like in the traditional role, she is more of the leader in the gifts that she's a Romans 12 leader. Yeah. But she still submits to her husband's leadership because he loves her sacrificially and selflessly, and it's such a beautiful picture of what those roles are supposed to look like. So it's not a matter of, I think we get so twisted up in what the world says about leadership and submission. Instead, we need to say, what does the Bible say? What does Jesus? What does Jesus look like as a leader? Right? He loves like Christ. We are to love like Christ, lead like a servant. If we were to do that as husbands, it would make the rest of this so much easier.
Well, and just think about the fruit of the Spirit. I mean, if we're practicing all of those, and we're doing what James calls us to do about being quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. I mean, all those things. Man, y'all are getting all of it like in one episode here.
You asked about spiritual intimacy, and I went to roles all over the place. So yes. So good. So just in thinking through additional things that couples can do just practically, I do think that people spend a fair amount of time talking ahead of time before they say I do. And then life gets going fast. People are just busy doing their thing. And maybe they forget, hey, we need to do regular check-ins. We need to ask, hey, what's the condition of your heart? Is there anything that I can do differently or better that would be helpful? So that it's not just a conversation before you get married or one right after you get married. It is an ongoing conversation. We're in our 37th year of marriage, and we still, because seasons change, right? Children come along, all the things happen, and so it's an ongoing conversation. It's good. Yeah, I've always said, like, the most important thing we ever did for our marriage, second most important thing, was we did a weekly meeting. Oh, and so every Sunday we did a sit down and it's like the least sexy thing in the world. I mean, we would sit down with our computers, with our planners, and we would look at the week. And it was an expectations conversation. We go, we do it on Sunday night. We'd say, okay, what does Monday morning look like? What is Monday night? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We would go through the next 7 days. We're making sure who's got the kids, what events do we have, who's coming over. We would literally talk through our schedule. We would make sure. Or we'd talk through like any big financial decisions. It's not the only time in the week we talk, obviously, but this is a real intentional time.
It's like your business meeting.
Exactly. But we'd also like calendar, okay, when are we going to be intimate this week? And so like we'd think through.
Come back and talk about that. Keep going. We'll come back.
Yeah, we would sometimes like we'd try to think through, okay, one can be spontaneous. And then we'd also try to calendar at least one night when we know maybe the kids are going to be gone, or maybe it's Friday during the day, like I'll schedule lunch at home, whatever it might be. And then the other thing that we were just like, hey, are we good? Like, are we on the same page? Is there any rock that's unturned? Is there any, like, it's Ephesians 4:26. We're not going to let the sun go down in our anger. Yeah. We want to make sure that we're moving in the same direction. And so that was crucial. crucial
Yeah.
for a marriage.
Did you
I'm
start
not
doing
gonna
that from
mess.
day one, or did you
No,
decide to
no,
do
I
that?
was. It was more after we had kids, when we realized like, hey, we're missing each other because we're so busy with all the stuff of life. But it was an essential. Like I would say, there were very very few times that we missed that
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah, that's so
This
good.
verse I'm not going to miss is this is Amos 3:3. Do two walk together unless they have agreed to meet? And I remember a mentor shared that with me, and essentially saying, hey, we've got to agree that we're going to move together in the same direction. And so that was like the verse that we always thought of with this meeting is we're going to make sure that we're aligned, that we're on the same page, we're driving in the same direction as a couple. And we don't do it, now our kids we're almost empty nest, and so we don't have to do it. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
But we're still having those same conversations. We just don't calendar it for every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Yeah.
It makes me think about things that you do set up that you start doing intentionally that are helpful to keep the doors of communication open. It really does sideline a lot of conflict from happening because
Yes.
you are heading it off at the pass, so to speak. And one of the things that we started doing when we had Ashley right after we had her, she didn't settle very well in the evenings. And so we started taking a walk because that seemed to calm her down significantly.
Yeah.
And a byproduct of that was that we talked. And
Yes.
so we walked every night and
Love that.
and then put her to bed. But the thing that has ended up lasting through the duration of our marriage to today is that most nights we still will go out and walk after dinner. And
Man.
it isn't like it's intense conversation, but it is definitely a catch up, what's happening in your world. We can talk about all kinds of things. And, one of the things we know happens with couples is this disconnection, being lonely in your marriage. And I think the expectation is that would just not happen because we're together and we love each other. But there is a point of intentionality where having the regular weekly meeting, walking each evening, or doing
Yeah.
something intentionally that keeps you connected, the end result of that can be over the duration of your marriage. It is incredibly impactful
I love that.
to helping
I love
you
that.
be strong together as a team.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So good. I saw a post recently like the benefits of walking with your spouse.
Yeah.
And it's, so it's exercise, it's vitamin D, you get to engage with your neighbors, you pray. It's uninterrupted time, like leave
Yeah.
your phone at home. So I
Yeah.
love that, Julie, and I love that you
Well,
still do that. That's
And
awesome.
there's actual research that if you hold your spouse's hand, it decreases your wife's blood pressure. Just
Man,
walking and holding
it's
hands.
good.
So, okay, before
So
we wrap
good.
up, I want to go back to you said something about in your business meeting that you guys scheduled when you were going to be intimate. And we
Yeah.
have talked about that in premarital before, and people are like, "What? Why would you do that? It is supposed to be spontaneous." But the thing is, if you have somebody who travels for their career, if you both have careers that are intense and you come home and you're tired all the time, and especially when children come along, that is something that can just be pushed over to the side. Oh, I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I've had people hanging off of me all day. I don't want anybody touching me. So speak to that just in terms of expectation, because I do think that is an expectation that often is unspoken, and it can get people sideways quickly with each other.
It's good. Man, I would have thought the same thing. So any young couple who hears that and thinks it's unromantic and should be spontaneous, I had the same thought. So you're not crazy.
Yeah.
I've been there. And it is just the reality of,
Right.
I think for, if you're a stay-at-home parent and you've got young kids around you all day, it probably helps you to prepare to know, okay, I
Yep.
want to get myself in the mindset of like, I know this is going to happen in 2 nights or, like on Thursday night. And so it helps me get in the headspace, preparing ahead. So there's an advantage there. It helps with expectations. If I think it's going to happen tonight and it's not going to happen until Thursday, then it sets me up. So I'm not going to be disappointed tonight or tomorrow night.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with planning ahead for it. And so like, it's actually wise. So, if we know the kids are going to be gone at youth group on Wednesday and we've got an empty house, let's make sure that we don't plan anything with friends that night. Let's keep the calendar open. And so there's wisdom in planning it. And I think, yes, leave the door open for spontaneity as well. Nobody's home and, mother-in-law's coming over in 20 minutes. Yep. Look, we got 20 minutes. Let's go. Right. It's not, that's not going to be every time, but it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it should be like, I don't like to say should, but I think it's great to have a good combination of planned and spontaneous. That doesn't mean you're broken. I think that's actually really healthy.
Yes, I would agree with that for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I ask everybody, what is one thing that you would encourage couples to do daily that could have a significant positive impact on their marriage?
Yeah, that's good. Such a great question. I think the most obvious one, but I'm sure you hear a lot of great answers. There's only one answer I think that's going to be possibly right.
Okay.
See, I'm a little biased, right?
Do tell.
Right, but I've heard it. If the divorce rate, right, for couples who pray together out loud on a consistent basis is ridiculously low. It's
like
less,
0.
Less than 1%.
Yes.
Prayer costs us nothing. It draws us closer to one another and to the Lord. I'm more in touch with my spouse when we do it. She feels heard. I feel heard. We feel understood. We know what's going on in each other's heart. It draws us closer together. There's nothing else that I could do that has a greater impact on our relationship with each other and our relationship with the Lord than praying together. And we heard that. We heard the importance of praying together before we got married as newlyweds. I taught people for years to do it, and we weren't doing it because we couldn't figure out the right rhythm for us, and we just failed in every way that everyone told us to try. We tried to do it at night. I always fell asleep. In the morning, we have different schedules, and so we have fought for this. And I'm so grateful that we now have a really good routine for praying together. Sometimes we're together and we pray in person. Other times we get on the phone when I'm driving to work or she's going to work, and we pray while we talk on the phone. Sometimes we don't connect that way and we leave each other audio messages when we pray for one another. But we have learned, and I think I was like, well, that doesn't count, which is so dumb, right? Like I think there was this thing in my head that said, unless we do it first thing in the morning or late at night and we're together, it doesn't count. And I'm like, we're coming to the throne together, whether we're in person or over the phone or leaving messages. And I believe absolutely counts. And so pray together. And if you don't know how, I think God would even honor the prayer of, God, I don't know what to say or how to do this. Would you help me? And you just keep praying that prayer, and I think God's going to answer that prayer. So there you go.
I love that so much. I had some mentors for our marriage, and they said that they started out just, holding pinkies, and they literally started out praying silently for 60 seconds and then said, Amen. That's what they began with. And then just realizing that God doesn't have an expectation of what you're this formal prayer. He just wants your heart. And being able to pray with your spouse, you get to hear your spouse's heart.
Yeah,
so,
that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, a really wise friend and mentor once told me, if you hold your wife's hand, it lowers her blood pressure. And so
I love that. Really was.
That was you 5 minutes ago. Yes. So do that.
Oh my
right?
goodness, Scott, thank you
Yes.
so much
Yes.
for
Yes.
just a fantastic conversation. And thank you all for tuning in today. You can find a link to Scott's books in the show notes, and you can find more resources and updates at marriageonthedaily.com. And until next time, remember, it's the little things that matter daily in your marriage.